Hello and thank you for joining us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, power outage continues despite 1.3 trillion naira investment by federal government in 3 years. 104 students and teachers kidnapped at Federal Government College, Benin Yari, still being held by bandits as army rescues 2 teachers and 5 students. World Bank blames CBN for Nigeria's foreign exchange crisis. And later on the show, United Arab Emirates finally lift ban on travels between Dubai and Nigeria. I'll be hanging out with Gani Kaide Balogun and Oba Adeoye. That GKB.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to
Earlier
all fathers.
I said happy Father's Day to the responsible fathers out there. Responsible fathers out there.
Because there are fathers and there are dads. Some people are simply daddy. They are not fathers. So happy Father's Day to those who are responsible for their kids' education, life being, and guiding them on the right path. Because I cannot say happy Father's Day to fathers of bandits and criminals.
Yes.
They are not responsible fathers.
Yeah. Baba Jide Kolade Otitoju from Okunland in Kogi State. Happy Father's Day, Jide.
Happy Father's Day to you.
Okay, so if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. The continued power outage in Nigeria, despite trillions of naira sunk into the sector, is one of the most magic that legendary Fela Anikulapo Kuti sang about decades ago. Despite 1.3 trillion naira investment by the federal government in that sector in 3 years, Nigerians are still living in darkness. According to a World Bank report, with more than 1.3 trillion naira borrowed to finance generation companies and gas suppliers to boost the electricity supply, Nigeria has only been able to transmit an average of 4,000 megawatts for the population of 200 million people. We are still far from, the mark. GKB.
Well, it's unfortunate that we are where we are right now. Because if you remember, one of the selling points of this administration was the fact that it took them about 6 months to put into place structures. But you and I know that infrastructure decay that has occurred in that particular sector, where the latest element was about 40 years ago, cannot be repaired overnight. And despite putting all this money into transmission and infrastructure, it is unfortunate that we are still where we are. And that to me is inexcusable.
Babajide, according to the World Bank reports, in spite of 1.3 trillion naira borrowed to finance the generation companies and gas suppliers to boost electricity supply, we are still doing below 4,000 megawatts for a population of 200 million people.
From the beginning, we didn't seem to get it right. I figured that if we had companies like General Electric, some of the biggest power companies in the world, getting involved with this process, we would not have had to kind of provide some sort of feeding bottle for the companies that we sold our power infrastructure to. But that is what is happening at this stage. We are still, these companies, you sell power infrastructure, but you are still providing money to reflate those companies, to enable them to be in good health, to provide the services for which you've already considered the power infrastructure to them. So this is worrisome, and the question is, how much longer can we do this? This is the big question, because Naturally, once the transaction is over and you've turned those power infrastructure over to these companies, you are not supposed to be giving them bailouts as you are giving them. We've given them bailouts repeatedly. Now the sobering story is that the federal government has even had to take loans to give to these companies so that they can provide service. I've never had anything like this. If you are subsidizing electricity, yes, we will know that you are doing that in the interest of the ordinary Nigerian. But to continue to provide funds for generating companies, for discos, I do not see any sense in it. From the beginning, if we had got things right, we would have sold these companies to companies that had the financial wherewithal, the companies capable of running the business without the support of the federal government. But that's not what is going on now. Sometimes we have gas constraints, and these power plants are unable to provide the service at optimum level. But we still pay them for services not rendered, because their own argument will be that it is for no fault of theirs that their generators are lying and idle. So we still provide funds for them for the fact that they have gas constraints. So we've got to tackle all of the problems associated with so that we can be in good health. As things stand, we are just moving around in cycles, and you can see why after all these years, after so much money down the drain, we are still unable to generate consistently more than 4,000 megawatts. I believe.
GKB, I think we lost signal with Jude there. And when you look at this pattern and the number of people that have access to power supply and the hours they have it, now we are looking at Nigerians are even ready and willing to pay more tariff, willing to do so, to have constant uninterrupted power supply. Still, our government can still not. These disco companies, these companies that are in charge of power supply, can still not guarantee us.
Well, because like you just said, this is probably not the biggest, one of the biggest scams in the history of scams in this world, and I'll tell you why. When the companies were about to be privatized, when NEPA was about to be privatized, it was brought to their attention that we do not have the infrastructure to hand over this thing to people without experience. Most of these discos were formed barely weeks before they were handed over, before things were handed over to them. I don't forget there was a time we were paying what they call the surcharge of 1,000 naira, whether you consume light or not. And we did on this program one time that we said that if every household in Nigeria is paying that 1,000 naira per month as surcharge, the discos will be making a whopping 1.3 trillion every month for doing absolutely nothing. That's why some of us were happy when this government came in. And one of the first things that the former Minister for Power, Raji Fashola, did was to cancel that scam. These people, these companies had no pedigree when it comes to power generation, power distribution, or even ordinary power retention. They were formed basically to take assets from the Nigerian people. And the contract itself, as I'm sure you know, stated that any loan taken by these discos is guaranteed by the federal government. That means it doesn't matter what they do with the money, those that they are owing money will simply hold the federal government accountable. That's how large this scam is. And remember, anytime they want to increase tariff, People will make noise, but they will do it anyway. It's not that they are doing us a favor. We have barely 3 hours per day in my neighborhood. And that 3 hours is for every other day. The only reason why I'm not complaining louder than this is because I now have a prepaid meter, which guarantees that I cannot be charged for what I did not consume. But put the costs and the cost of generating power by myself against what they promise, we are in a lockdown. This problem cannot be solved if that contract is not either abridged or dismantled, because it's a bone in our neck, basically, because we are paying these people to do absolutely nothing. All they promised, all the infrastructural improvements, the program they bought it, have not been met. We've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and things are getting from bad to worse.
And they still get bailout from them.
Not only they get bailout, they even blackmail the government to allow them to increase tariff. Anytime they say they will increase tariff, they will increase it. And now they don't even announce it anymore. What they do is you simply sit in your bill when you want to pay for your prepaid, and you realize that, okay, fine, you're no longer paying 46 naira. They're now charging you at 64 naira. And there's nothing you can do about it. Neither that body set up to protect consumers, neither them or the National Electric Regulation Commission have been able to do anything to save the situation.
Okay, I think I have a phone call from Plateau Just, Mr. Ladeji. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's Monday.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Friday to all of you there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you see, the problem we see happening with this electricity is corruption.
Hello? Oh, I think we lost that call. We lost that call. And so, looking at this situation, it's like you were talking about the contracts that we had with them, and there's also a clause in that contract that said that, look, if we breach this contract, that even what Nigerian government is going to pay this company. Today I was told that thing by the chairman of a transmission company of Nigeria. I was like, wow, that we are going to pay them from, one obnoxious amount like that to cement this contract.
I said that's why I said this is one of the biggest scams in the world, because even disreputable 419ers will bow to the kind of person who drafted these Morungos contracts, because obvious that they don't do it for the interest of Nigeria. They just want to take our assets, take our money, then force the country to keep bearing the cost of whatever they are doing. I've never heard of a contract of this nature anywhere in the world. It is so stacked against the Nigerian people that the federal government will run into debt to buy them off. And to think that just a few years ago, we are the owners of these assets. It is that bad.
I have Olawale from Ikorodu. Thank you for joining us, Wale.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes.
My brother, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, one of the greatest disservice that the Jonathan administration did to this country is this our privatization to this discourse. I'm told there is a clause there, renewable but irrevocable. So who are the people responsible for drafting the agreement and for signing it? Sincerely speaking, except we take drastic action against those people who are involved in the processes of these things, Nigeria will continue to be in the doldrums, will continue to be in darkness. No, it is quite unfortunate that something like this should be happening in the 21st century in a country where we have educated, enlightened people. But we are told from Bukateria gist that all these things were given to the powers that be in government at that time. That's why you can't do anything, and that is why they drafted those agreements like that. But God will save us one day. We cannot continue to listen to subsidize them. If it warrants you're giving them, for the purpose of cancelling the contract, giving them the whole budget of Nigeria for 1 year, I bet.
Okay, thank you, Wale. GKB, now there's a scheme they call willing buyer, willing, pay, willing payer.
Willing buyer, willing payer.
And what they do now is that, yes, if your estate, if you have the capacity to actually pay them what they want, you can pay their tariff. You have 18, 20 hours of power supply, and it's going to be constant. I can mention some estates in Lagos.
Not recently, so. But that was the promise, yes.
And telling them that they're going to have constant power supply.
That is the appetite that this kind of contract allows. Electricity is a human right. It's a right that you and I should enjoy as citizens of Nigeria. It doesn't mean that the government has the right to now say you cannot enjoy it. That particular policy is not only criminal, but also, I'm sure, I'm not a lawyer, I'm sure it's also subjudicial. Because you are telling people that in this cup or on this table, we have 10. There are 20 of you. If you, Ayo, can afford to pay me this amount, you alone can take 7. And 3 others will not be left for the others, whoever they are. That to me is the sign of the mafia. Because you are telling Nigerian people that if you live in certain areas, or you are fortunate to be born in certain areas, and then you do not have the right to regular and consistent electricity. Because like the example I gave, if there are only 2 of us on this table, and somebody is saying, Ayo, you alone can have 4 cups, and GKB can take only 1, if you can afford it, then you know where we are going. That's why I said the NERC, the Nigerian Electricity Regulation Commission, is not only a toothless bulldog, it's a waste of time and resources, because they are not controlling anything. In fact, the discos, they determine what they are going to charge. And I've written letters, both in my capacity as an estate administrator, as well as an individual, and nothing has happened. You know what's even worse now? They will now take if they give you a prepaid meter, they will now create another meter in your name or your house name and start billing you for what you don't even have. That means they are trying to bypass the prepaid meter system that was forced by government. They will simply create it. You don't know about it. There's no meter of such name in your premises, and you'll be forced to pay. Just to bypass the fact that you now have prepaid meters and you have nothing to do with them. This scam will bring Nigeria under, one way or the other, because we cannot continue to do this. Like I said, 200 million people desire and they deserve to have 24 hours electricity. You have no right to take a bulk of that electricity to certain areas under the pretext that because they pay more. It's not that kind of business. It's a security matter. And I'm sure the federal government is aware of these shenanigans.
In terms of investment over time, investment into this infrastructure, even if the federal government will have to assist. And I was told that we need to invest trillions of naira and sustain it over time before we can achieve more than this 40,000 kilowatt for 200 million people. We can do 100, we can do everything we want to do now. We just don't have the transmission line to evacuate them.
Somebody told me in the system that why they signed that contract was because these people promised they are going to upgrade the infrastructure in 5 years. And they are going to need a lot of resources they will be bringing in. But because they signed the contract, because they assume that no new government can now come in and topple that arrangement, that's why they signed it. Because it shows that they have not done that. And because they've not done what they promised, we have no right to keep paying them the humongous amount that we pay them every time. I think what the federal government needs to do now is to hold them accountable in that contract of whatever they said they would do, the key elements that they promised and they've not delivered on, and use that as a tool to bring this back. Because one, we keep pretending that we have no problem. We have a lot of problems. Coal is still the #1 material that they use for power generation in the world at 34%. We still have coal that we can use. Natural gas, which is the second one, if it's failing us, we have things to fall back upon. We seem to put all our eggs in one basket under the pretext that this is the best way to go. It's not even clean energy, but understand the dynamics. What we need to do now, like you mentioned, is to ensure that we go through this thing with a fine tooth comb in such a manner that when we get there, we're able to tell our people that fine, this is what we require to give you light. This is what you need to do, and not keep throwing money down a bottomless well.
How do we get out of this problem? By this investment, the federal government is not too buoyant now financially, yet we need to sustain the investment in that sector.
The generating companies as well as the distribution companies must be encouraged to find the funds to plug back into the business. We can continue to provide the funds for them to expand the business, to provide service. For example, I had always felt that from the beginning, the distribution companies should have been mandated to provide meters for their consumers, but that has never been the case. So your capacity to fund the business, to put more money in the investment, to expand the scope of the business should have been one of the conditions to be met before selling this power infrastructure to these companies. But we have not done that, and we are regretting it at this stage. And we simply can't walk out of this business, this transaction without paying a heavy price. It's already well known that if we were to opt out of this transaction, we will pay a hefty penal fee, and no one wants to pay that kind of hefty penal fee. So government is continuing to reflate the sector by providing the needed financial support to these companies in the hope that we'll get by. But I'm not convinced that this is sustainable on a long-term basis. We've got to find a solution. Let each of those GENCOs, I think that the GENCOs have even done well to a large extent. The DISCOs have a lot more to do by way of investing fresh funds, by putting fresh funds in the business. This is what we have to encourage. Wherever they are going to find money, they've got to be encouraged to look for money to keep the business going. The federal government cannot continue to bring the funds that these companies need to expand the scope of their business and to continue to provide service to the Nigerian people.
All right. Inability to prevent abduction of students and ascertain the exact number of those kidnapped present Nigeria with some sort of double tragedy regarding the kidnap crisis. Now, when bandits stormed the federal government college, Benin Yari, in Kebbi State on Thursday, the 17th of June, the number of kidnapped school children could not be ascertained. 3 days after, it is reported that about 104 students and teachers of the school are still being held by bandits. Meanwhile, troops of the Nigerian Army rescued 2 teachers and 5 students after a fierce battle. The fight is on for the rescue of the remaining students. DKB, we have this situation across the country, and these bandits, they are running riots across Nigeria, and it's not like an industry. All those people that have been unemployed over time, that have been ravaged by poverty over time, and that's government or that we've not taken care of.
Or the system of not.
The system taking care of these young children. In those days, we called them Amajiri, and now with our porous border across the board, we now have bandits, terrorists now entering into the country. And this is the situation we found ourselves. So, across
some of them are indigenous, don't forget.
Yes. And they have people that supplies them with ammunition, sophisticated one at that.
Logistics, yeah.
Yes, at that. So it's now a big problem.
Like you said in your intro, what we are going through is the problem that we've created in the last 50 years. With the level of poverty in a particular part of the country, with the level of indoctrination for things that they think are Islamic, but are not. Because I went to a madrasa. I also went to a public school. So I didn't become a terrorist. So poverty should not be an excuse why people should go into this. So I said your intro was very apt. A lot of people are going into this because it's profitable. And that's why I don't call them bandits, I call them terrorists. Because banditry means you have to eat and go. These people are taking in people. Imagine the level of logistics that you require to take 104 students. Imagine the number of vehicles you require, the distance you have to cover, the number of people that will have to know where you are going.
They have collaborators.
And
a bread seller yesterday was apprehended, and he said he now makes a minimum of 150,000 naira every day from selling bread to bandits.
Don't forget, it's just one part of the chain. The people also supply that with fuel. Or they will not be asking for bikes. That means they have a certainty that they will get fuel somewhere. That's why they're asking for motorcycles. Don't forget that not once, not twice, not thrice, we've caught Nigerians and Malians who has admitted that their main job is to provide guns and ammunition to these people. They are not Nigerians. What makes it worse is that, I don't want to use the word kid gloves, that we've been able to take it. If the federal government has used the same level of force that they are using in this particular case to make sure that they no longer have a field day in picking people and disappearing, I think this thing will go down. But what we need to do now, as you are aware, is that Nigeria is a very big country, extremely big. And in that part of the country, there are places you could travel to the distance between Lagos and Ibadan, and you will not see a soul. I will not see a village. I'm talking about a difference of about 120 kilometers. So that's why it's difficult to really put all the blame on the security forces. But like you said, they have collaborators, and the earlier we stop the logistic support, and by doing that, bring forth elements, and then we can solve this problem. Or else, we are in this for a long haul.
Today, earlier this week, I even saw your Facebook posting, as in I saw some minors that, they were apprehended. And you begin to look at teenagers, and they were carrying AK-47 rifles. And I felt very, very bad that we even have our young men around this very, very annoying practice. Babajide, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you. It's what people have to live with. Some of these boys have been living with these bandits in the forest for many years. So they too have literally learned the ropes. One of them said recently that he does not go on operations with them, but that he stays behind and does some work for those people. So he could cock a gun, he could service a gun, he could clean up the gun, and what you have there is a notorious bandit being trained. To what you have is a little boy being groomed to become a notorious bandit, and it's so bad. We've got to find a way to eliminate these bandits from our forests. We've got to find a way to stop them from attacking our schools. These children, including the little boy that you were talking about, ought to be somewhere in school. the two fellows who are the
Yes, that we. I told you that I was asking today. I saw that post and I don't know. Maybe you saw it.
I saw it.
Help me, and I was.
I saw it's unfortunate and it resonates because I remember what happened in Liberia and Sierra Leone with key soldiers who have been deadened to the glory of taking human lives, that they just assume it's like a little child playing with the toys, and they just assume that killing people comes naturally. The level of trauma they will go through in later life can only be imagined, because a young boy like that at that age has been influenced by his environment so much that there's nothing you can do as a state to bring him back. You almost always go back to that lifestyle. And that to me is the danger we face down the line. We are creating a new set of bandits who are very young, who are under 12. That means that we expect to still be fighting banditry in this country in the next 10 years. That's what this emanates from. So the point Gide is trying to make is that if we do not quickly nip this in the bud in such a manner to ensure that we don't create monsters, these monsters will consume us down the line.
Because when you look at what is happening down, we even have some of them coming down south, and some youths down south are also in the business of kidnapping.
Yeah, they first become informers. That's the first step. They inform. They serve as lookouts. That if they are going and they see that, okay, maybe this boss has a number of people that they can be kidnapped, they will send a signal. And then they graduate from that to doing the small stuff, maybe cleaning the guns and all that. Then they move on to going on operations, and they too become leaders in their small cells. I keep telling people, especially people in the Southwest, they think that I'm just being parochial. If you have two hands and you can drive a car, that means you can open your own gate. A lot of people you are using as domestic staff are informants and cell leaders of these things. And the danger here is that people will keep quiet and just pretend all is well. If you can open your own gates, remove it. So give you a chance to walk, to park it to your own house. All these unnecessary middle class mentality must stop, because you are inviting danger to your own home under the pretext that you cannot do certain things or you are too big to do this stuff. So what we need to work on, like Gide said, is on two things. Make sure that we end this banditry quickly before those boys become men. And second part is to ensure that things don't lose away on things we need to do. Unless we do those two things, I'm afraid that we are in this for the long time.
And when you want to look at funding, they seem to be getting their way around because people pay ransom. So it has now expanded that industry.
So it is a business.
It's growing from leaps and bounds. And
I will not be surprised if corporate Nigeria is also part of it. Because they cannot be moving that kind of money around without some sort of official line, what the Americans will call laundry. Because you cannot be taking 100 million, 150 million, and it will just disappear into thin air. It's not possible.
Outside the bank?
No, something, because that kind of money will resurface. Somebody somewhere will come into new money and it will show. But in Nigeria, it seems to disappear, and there are things we cannot see on television that people are telling us from certain parts of the Barakpa about certain, and I'm sure you know, that we've been told that some of these people behind this kidnapping are people who have official cover. It may not be true, but that's the information we have from that access. There are people who live in certain government infrastructure who have access to guns, and the people who commandeer or who make sure these things happen in those areas. And I will not be surprised, because there's no way 50 million will disappear into thin air without trace. It's not possible.
Obade, just joining us. When we have a friend, he calls us from Kano, Sule Yao Sule. He complained last week. He said in Kano right now, they've discovered a strange development in real estate. Those people come into Kano and they are purchasing houses worth 200 million naira, worth 100 million naira, and that is cash. They are paying cash, and they're suspecting that, look, this might be a proceed of banditry.
I cannot agree less with GKB earlier. You know, I met him making a point about these people having some kind of official cover, you know. In a system like ours, and you are moving such huge amount of money in cash from one point to another, I think it leaves a lot of questions hanging in the air. It tells us a lot of things about how porous this system is, and whether we like it or not, whether we want to agree or not, it goes to give credence to the fact that the banditry business, so to say, the kidnap business, the criminality, the business of crime is really thriving in this country. And that is why you can, you know, your guess is as good as mine. Ayo, you've been working as a journalist for how many years? I don't know if you are able to pull 200 million naira together in cash and move from one point to another without you know, having to dig your hand into the cookie jar. So I think it's a big indictment on the people in charge of this system that if such an amount of money is being moved from one point to another, and this is not the first time that I'll be saying on this platform that, look, the business of kidnapping, the business of banditry and what have you, is much more organized than what we are being told, than what we are seeing on daily basis. So a lot of people, some people somewhere have some immunity, so to say, as regards this criminality, and until the people in charge really, you know, put their hand on the deck to arrest the situation, we may not have seen anything yet.
I think for a long time we allowed it to fester, because if at the inception of this thing, at the start of this thing, if the government has taken necessary steps to nip it on the bud, I think we are not going to be where we are now. If Governor Matawale is saying that in Zamfara State alone has over 30,000 bandits, and look at the number of security men we have to contain, you know, this menace.
Well, the first thing, of course, you know that there are 5 stages of trauma, and denial is the first one. We've been in denial for so long that we find it difficult. Now we are in the process of acceptance, and we cannot do, unless we get into acceptance properly, then we cannot really find a solution to our problem. For many years, the Nigerian government of all sizes always like to pretend that all is well, that they are in control. But you and I know that people cannot move out of Lagos or some parts of even the southwest without trepidation of what will happen to them when they go.
They even kidnapped some white men in Ibadan.
No, in
working on the raid. Okay, working on the raid.
Ogun and Lagos does not have a Amotekun. So that's the problem that they face. But we keep saying this here, and to based on your points, the denial is institutionalized. That means if you go to anybody in government, you force him to do is to deny that this thing does not happen. Until we accept that we are in deep something, then we cannot solve the problem. That's why I said, just like we said for the energy crisis, unless you accept that this particular solution has failed, and we need to go back to basics and comfort. For this one, 2 things we need to do. We need, like you said, we need more law enforcement officers, and that is key. Then we need more law enforcement at the community level. But those are the words that people in government do not want to hear, because they assume it's a way of taking power away from them. But the reality is that the Nigerian police, the Nigerian civil defense, whatever names they give themselves, are not enough to face this menace at any level. Because you know that Niger State alone is equivalent to the size of the Southwest.
It's massive.
So you are talking about, I think they told me they have about 7,000 or so policemen in Niger State, because I asked. 7,000 policemen to cover the equivalent of Ogunyo, Ondo, Osun, and Ekiti. So you know what, I just want to give a...
State is under police.
So we have a big problem. So first thing is for government to accept that the current structure to defend us are not working. And then we need to move forward and do AB. Doesn't mean that criminality will go away, but it will come back to a manageable level.
In some areas, there are running riots. as if there's no presence of governments.
Anarchy.
You know, they are running riots, doing their things, and even villagers, people, they know them. They know them, they carry guns all around, and they carry out their nefarious activities. Nobody is there to intervene or control them.
Nigeria is a very massive, country state, and if we really want to solve some of the problems confronting us, we need to, stop pretending, like stop acting as if everything is working well for us. It's obvious that our system of security has failed over the years, and this again has underscored the call for state police at this point in time. I don't know the structure that is going to take, because if you ask me, I'll tell you that some states have some forms of state policing system as we speak. GKB just mentioned Amotekun earlier on. It's a form of state police, but how much of result have even Amotekun posted since their inauguration? Amotekun is in Ogun State. He said Amotekun is in Ogun State, but I don't know how much result they have been able to post.
Do they have the wherewithal to confront these RPG waving bandits?
Exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. So we just buy them uniform and we make all the noise about them. What about the training? I remember the recruitment process of people into Amotekun in Ogun State. It was like you wanted to recruit clerk. Yeah, that's the way it appeared to me. You want to recruit people that will confront, criminals, adding criminals, and you are just bringing anybody anyhow into this. I don't know the level of training that these people received before being given the uniform, but I think the chief executive officers of this state really need to do much more. And the people representing us at the National Assembly also need to go back to this idea of state police. I don't know the structure it's going to take, but I think that system is long overdue.
Okay, I have a member representing Gaski constituency, Damu Mohammed. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm with you. I can hear you.
Okay.
I am Adam Mohammed Bin Yawi, member representing Gaski constituency at the Kebbi State House of Assembly.
Okay.
I'm also a native of that town, Bin Yawi.
Okay. That's Adamu Mohammed Bin Yari of Geski, representing Geski constituency, Kebbi State House of Assembly.
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Can you tell us what is happening now? What's the situation in Kebbi State right now?
Actually, since the adoption of the student of Federal Government College Bin Yauri, and there was a quick intervention at the edges where they normally pass when they come in. They normally pass to their base at Zamfara State. So the state government had mobilized military and other agencies to block their way at a place where we call Makuku in Sakaba local government. In that place, there was a battle between the army and the bandits, where so many of them, more than 60 were killed. That is the situation now, and still they are on the field. There are some which up to now are not being found. They must be with the bandits now. I believe the army are in the battlefield now. That is the situation.
Now, do you have the exact figures, the number of students that were taken away?
Honestly, we don't have the exact figure, but we have put a register in the Federal Government College Biniauri, where parents who lost their children were registered. In the register, we have 57 to 60 students' names who are not being found. Hello?
Yes, we're here.
Yes, so in the register, we have around 57 to 60 names of students who are not being found. That is the exact situation. That is the register we have in the Federal Government College, Biniawi now.
At what point in time do you start noticing the activities of bandits in Kebbi State? Because for me, it's just recently that a caller just called to tell us about the activities of bandits in that state.
Yes. A day or two before the strike, definitely there was a rumor in which the bandits had passed information that they will be in that area. Fortunately, I went to my governor, His Excellency, the governor of Kebbi State, and he told me personally he has a phone call with the principal to confirm. And the principal told him that they only need some security around them to back them up. And the governor has mobilized and sent 24 or more than that mobile policemen with arms. A day to the incident, I was in my village, Biniaudi, and we happened to go around and see what is happening. On the day, I was also there. We had a notice that they are coming because there are surrounding villages whereby if they pass, the villages will phone us that they are coming, they are coming, they are coming. Up to the extent they have reached the school. So when they were in the school, we had already mobile policemen on the ground. They engaged them. During the fighting, we have only 24 mobile policemen where the bandits are more than 200. And you know how armed with them. Yes. So the bandits overpowered the mobile police who were stationed in the school. At long last, they went away with some of the students.
So the situation we have on ground now is not as if we don't have security presence in that school. We have 24 mobile policemen still in the situation whereby over 200 bandits came from there. Now, tell us, in terms of agriculture, I know Kebbi State is like the headquarters of rice production in Nigeria. Now, how would these activities of these bandits affect farming in Kebbi State?
Honestly, Yauri is a place where we plant rice. It's a major place where rice has been produced. And with the bandits around, always, they keep away our people. The agitation is very high. People are no longer interested in that area. They are moving out to save their lives. So if nothing is done immediately, it will definitely affect the farming of that area. Don't forget, this is the time where we have a rainy season, and this is the time we plant our crops. So it will definitely affect the farming in that area.
All right, Honorable Adamu, I don't know if there are specific lessons that we have picked from this particular development in order to prevent a repeat in that area, because here we are talking about another kidnap in a school. It's becoming recurrent in this part of the world.
Exactly. You see, we should learn to take a proactive measure. This is not the time whereby we should allow bandits to attack us. This is the time whereby we should attack them first, wherever they are.
Flush them out.
Yes, wherever they are, we should be attacking them. We shouldn't allow them to be attacking us. We know their base. We know where they are coming from. We know their exit. We know where they come. Them where they are. We don't have to wait until when they attack us. We should mobilize our people. We should mobilize our armed forces. All the armed forces, the police should be mobilized, and we should be attacking them. To me, I think that will be the answer, because we cannot sit and allow them to be attacking us always.
Honorable, as a member of the Kebbi House of Assembly, has there been any move on your part or that of your colleagues to be proactive in either creating maybe a state force or something that can be used in communities to solve this problem before the federal officers can come in?
This is a situation whereby all people are involved. This is a situation of security. This is a situation whereby citizens should be involved. This is a situation whereby we have to defend ourselves. This is a situation whereby we have to not wait for government only to intervene. All of us should intervene. I don't think there is anything wrong if the government spends all its budget on security, because if there is no security, nothing comes up. Security is vital. Security is very necessary. So we should mobilize ourselves, including the government, and see to it that we have overcome this situation.
I wanted to ask you that what so far these bandits, have they reached out, and what is the government of Governor Atiku Bagudu doing to make sure that they kind of, I don't know, maybe what the policy, his policy is going to be, maybe pay ransom or rescue these children?
You see, the governor of Kebbi State, Senator Atiku Bagudu, has tried, because within less than 24 hours he has acted. He has mobilized military men to block the axis. He has also mobilized, I could remember there was even some private jets which were contacted to fly over within the zone just to get the information and pass it to the Grand Army. He has moved around. A day after he was in the scene, he visited us in the village. We were together. We have gone around. He was committed. We even moved up to where they were blocked in Sakaba local government. So the governor has tried, honestly. He had the political will, he had the commitment.
Honorable Adamu Mohammed Beniyari from Ngaski, representing Ngaski constituency at the Kebbi State House of Assembly. I want to say thank you for your intervention. Gentlemen, we're talking about the root cause. I don't know, maybe Jide is back on the line. The root cause of this, how did we find ourselves here? And now talking in terms of solution. Because Governor Nasir El-Rufai was quoted to have said that, look, these guys, especially the headers, making maybe a minimum of 150, 200,000 naira per month, now is into something very lucrative that pays 200 million, 100 million, and it's going to be difficult to stop that kind of lucrative business.
That is untrue.
Okay.
That's a fallacy, because we have poor people everywhere. I know people who have lost their jobs. They find it difficult to even feed their families. They've not turned to banditry. They've not turned to kidnapping. The problem with our ruling elite is that we tend to grandstand for areas where they are supposed to be held liable. They want to push the blame to somebody else. It's not the fault of the other when the other has been under pressure for the last 40 years. You and I know they've been rustling their cattle without any cause or effect for the last 40 years. We know that in some states, they not only will they rustle their cattle, they will also kill them at a point. The government was aware of this. They didn't move in actively to curb that problem. Despite that, we still have herders today who still follow the same old system, who still require 200,000 to survive, who still are bringing their cow and cattle down south for the Leia festival next month. So the governor cannot sit down in one place and assume that one size will fit all. There are challenges everywhere. We know this will come in the 80s because of the level of the Almajiris that were roaming the streets. And I told you here that it's not true that the Almajiri system is Islamic. It's not. I went to an Islamic school. I went to a secondary school. I went to a madrasa. And I didn't turn out to be roaming the streets begging. My entire family did that. My father was a chief imam. So you have to do a system check so that we don't get, it's based on your questions, what I'm saying is, because how did you get here? So 30 years ago, we know that we are going to get to this point if something was not done about that system.
These young men and women roaming the streets, they are not catered for.
They are essential
like a
tools for chaos. There was a time in this country, you and I know, that all you have to do to cause trouble in certain parts of the country was to shout at somebody and devastated the Quran. Or he has abused the prophet. May the soul of Allah be with him. That's all you need. And you have ready-made 200, 300 urchins to lynch that person. In this country, do you think ultimately they will not turn against you?
One day, someday.
It's part of the system. You are enjoying it because it pays you to create an army of urchins and never do wells, so that when you want to deal with your political opponents or people who are not of your culture or your religion, you can use them. Sooner or later, you run out of these people to deal with. And they will now turn on you to do this.
But this problem is not peculiar to the north alone. I can say the quantum, the number of area boys that we have around Lagos, cultists, around the southern part of the country. If care is not taken, look at the aftermath of the NSAS protests that they took over our streets. That if care is not taken, these guys one day will overrun this city.
Absolutely. We don't need a seer to predict that for us. You know, when the enemy is no longer there, you know, you look for someone else to you know, to wage war against. And some warriors in Yoruba land, they will say, when you don't have anybody to battle, you face the wall, you know. And who is the wall? You know, your friend, those people who have always been with you all along. So it's a time bomb. It's a keg of gunpowder we've been sitting on, and we keep sitting on it right now. And the problem is this, like the father of my friend will say that, look, you are grooming your child in the midst of other children who are not properly groomed. Don't you know that when you make a success of grooming that child, those ones you have left unattended to will come around to turn around to torment that child. Nature has brought them together. They are growing together. There's no way you can stop that. But if you end up grooming your own child and you fail to also take care of that environment, the environment you have not taken care of will not allow your children to even thrive. Look at the children of the politicians today. Before now, you know, they push them outside Nigeria to go and study. Now it's difficult for them to bring them back to the country to come and operate. They cannot fit in because it's fear everywhere. Today is kidnapping, tomorrow is attack, this one is this, that one is that. This is a monster they have fed over time. You know, what is you have groomed, you know, the child of a snake. And when it becomes an adult, it's something you cannot tame any longer. So that is the problem we are facing right now. And it's never too late. It's never too late. It's not an issue of the northern Nigeria alone. No. It's a widespread problem.
I saw some videos last week, and right in front, Third Mainland Bridge, that there was traffic. These guys took over everywhere.
They are not,
and they were robbing.
They are not.
They were robbing.
They are not afraid again.
Broad daylight.
Has always been notorious.
They knock on your glass.
Yes,
if you don't mind that, they just show you, they'll brandish that thing.
Everywhere, traffic everywhere. With confidence. Sometimes these guys, you think that they want to come and beg. That they want to come and beg for harm and everything, but now these guys they want to turn into robbers. We have them all over.
What makes it worse in the south? The danger of the north, you can identify and we can empathize or tell them the solution. The one in the south is because a lot of people, all these cultists, are well educated. So you cannot blame the system for not giving them the education required. All the 419s, you know.
But they are not gainfully engaged.
That's the point.
They are not engaged.
So we are talking about a similar problem across the country, but with different causes.
Yes. So another category is those ones that Jude will refer to as cyber bandits, the Yahoo boys. In the whole of the south, they've taken over
everywhere.
Go to Ilisha now, go to Akure, go to
Oshogbo, go to nearby Ogun State.
They are everywhere. If you have a young man between 18 to 25, carrying a laptop all around, I don't know what to.
I think part of the solution is to find a way of engaging these people. And what do? It appears like the ruling elite have only been too selfish and taking care of themselves alone. And now those children you have refused to groom are the ones tormenting the society right now. It's never too late. We can sit again, you know, identify this problem, just like GKB said. These people are educated, unlike in the north. They are not being moved or led by any religious inclination. I'm talking about the southern, you know, criminals now. It's not a question of religion. It's not a question of whether they are not educated. You know, so what is the problem? The problem is that they are not gainfully employed. They are not gainfully engaged. How do we now engage them gainfully?
We have 33.3% unemployment.
It's a very serious problem. It's a time bomb that whether we like it or not, it will explode any moment from now. Of course, what we are saying now may turn out to be a child's play if nothing is done right now to nip this, you know, problem in the bud. Because now it appears everybody has, you know, resigned to fate. Now, we are talking about the one in Kebbi State. The other day, Mr. President came around and said the particular kidnap somewhere in the north will be the last kidnap of school children. And in less than a week or 2 weeks after he made that statement, those criminals came again. and struck in another school.
They didn't get the memo.
It was a direct message to Mr. President. Here we are talking about another one. Ayo, I'm not the prophet of doom. Maybe in the next 2 weeks or so, we'll be talking about another kidnap of another soft target somewhere. So what are we doing beyond talking about this problem? The honorable member of the House of Assembly was talking the other time, and GKB was asking him a question that, what specific actions have you taken? It's not only when this thing happened that we now come on TV or radio or newspaper and we start lamenting about it. And that was why I asked him, what are the lessons we have learned? How can we put these lessons to work, not just in Kebbi State, but across Nigeria? They need to sit up and do something as urgently as possible.
Okay, let's go back to Kebbi State now, where a community leader, Alhaji Abdullahi Mohammed Ilamba, joins us via Skype. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Yes, this is a big problem in Kebbi State now, and we are looking at what you are doing to actually find a lasting solution to banditry in Kebbi State.
Alhamdulillah, as a matter of fact, our community remains focused, resolute, and committed. All our volunteers who sacrifice their lives and the time to save the life and the property of the security of the area are committed. So let me first and foremost express my sincere thanks and appreciation to our gallant military, paramilitary, and volunteers for their joint task force to make the situation a reality. And I think it was the first time in the country without any fear of contradiction, I can say that such bandits are decisively attacked and the positive result is coming gradually.
We are told that some of these bandits, they connive and collaborate with insiders, traditional leaders, community leaders, and people in your community. Have you seen anything like this in Kebbi State?
I cannot precisely say no. But there is no any evidence, directly or indirectly, for us to justify that claim. It's a mere speculation. What is happening in other states should not be closely associated with what is happening in Kebbi State. We are very disciplined, we are united, we are together with our traditional rulers, and we remain committed to fight this bandit problem, and by the grace of Allah, we shall certainly get to the right destination.
Tell us how this will affect or has affected farming in Kebbi State.
No, globally, you know, issues when they say that this banditry activities, people will become scared. They cannot even attend their normal responsibility, either going to the farm, especially this time when we have the rainy season time, and people going to the open market, they become scared. So in such a situation, all we want to do, we resort to a campaign of drawing the attention of the people within the community to remain adamant and report any element of such suspicion, and we should certainly mobilize our teaming youth and elegant boys who are committed for this crisis to see that we subdue it to the best of our capability.
Now, do you have local vigilantes? Do you have, apart from the police that you have around in Kebbi State, do you have your own local vigilantes?
Local vigilantes are virtually everywhere in Kebbi State. That's why for long, he has never even closed Kebbi State. And they remain alive, active and committed. And they are really watching every look and training, and by the grace of God, we shall certainly be on the top of whatever.
And finally, we've been talking about the roots. We've been talking about what could have led to this onslaught of bandits in the community and across even Nigeria. What do you think is the root cause? Is it unemployment? Is it bad parenting?
when you begin to ask for the root cause, that one is enormous. We have a large number of unemployed youth here and there. We have a large number of dropped civil servants and elegant workers here and there. And as a result of that, you find that large number of boys and girls are coming out from the universities and polytechnics, both monotechnic and polytechnic, and they are rendered jobless note. And even within the academic system, they have not been trained to be self-reliant, to be able to take care. So you find that people are very redundant, virtually doing nothing, and they can be drawn by any unscrupulous element to find in this type of thing. But happy enough, I could remember there was a time I reached a similar alert to His Excellency, the existing governor of Kebbi State, that large number of boys and girls are leaving tertiary institutions virtually doing nothing. There and then he gave an outright approval to Honorable Commissioner of Education to recruit over 2,000 boys and girls, which was done, and I was part of the recruitment, and they are already being employed. And similar arrangement is being done to make sure that much more are really engaged, so that it leads to reduce the situation to the barest minimum.
I want to thank you, the community leader, Dam Madani Yauri, as Alhaji Abdullahi Muhammadu Lamba. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen. Now, even Alhaji Abdullahi Muhammadu Lamba corroborated what we've been saying, and because it won't just happen in a day. And let's look at activities of those people from neighboring countries having free access to our border and smuggling ammunitions.
Well, our borders have always been porous, especially in those areas where there are really no economic activities. People can always overman places like Idiroko or something because they are more focused. But there are other areas. There's a borderline in Shaki, for example.
Yes.
That's also very wide.
The Okeogun line.
Because a lot of people from Mali, Chad. In fact, there's no family in Okeogun that does not have a Baba Waga. Waga. Waga simply means Wagadu. They have people who live there. Of course, you know that the Okeogun people, as well as the Gomoshos, are probably the most traveled sub-clan of the Yoruba nation. They're everywhere.
You go to Cote d'Ivoire.
Everywhere. In Cote d'Ivoire, 50% of the non-indigenous people are Yorubas. In Cote d'Ivoire, that means if there are 6 million foreigners, 3 million of them
are
Yorubas. And I met a man in Togo who told me his own children have become preferred or prefects, as they call it here. That's why having this large
tribal.
So before the colonialists came, there were really no need for borderlines. A lot of them intercrossed. So now that we have it, a lot of people simply ignore it. Unless, of course, it's an economic zone where money can be made. And I remember there's a report in the news last week of a village somewhere in Katsina State, or is it Kebbi State, I'm not sure, where one party is in Niger, one party is in Nigeria, and majority of people there are Benunwa. I remember the story. A village, it's not peculiar, even in Europe. The borderline between Belgium and Netherlands is along a street. And you can drink coffee here and go to the toilet here in another country. So I'm saying this as background to tell you that we've not been very proactive when it comes to manning our borders, especially in certain areas.
Okay, before this crisis graduated, it was clashing between farmers and herders. And Mr. President, and Mr. President has ordered the Attorney General to go and get the grazing routes, the 1963 grazing routes, and where they're going to pass. Yes, it seems this is comfortable right now, but a lot of the southern governors are saying no to open grazing. And in fact, a state like River State is going ahead to legislate their own to say no to open grazing. And Mr. President is trying to say, oh, the best way to resolve this farmer headers frequent clashes is to just open up that route that has been there since 1963.
What
before 1963.
What route? Where are they? You see, GKB and I were talking about going to, identify the root causes of some of these problems. And I think one of the causes is the body language of the central government to the clashes that you just referenced right now. When it was at that infantile stage, the stage where it has not even boomeranged to what it is right now, the central government seems not to have done enough. And, the monster started growing and graduated to what we have right now, i.e. banditry and terrorism and what have you. So for me, you're talking about grazing route or no grazing route. Maybe that will be part of the solution to the problem in the wisdom of the central government. But hey, the central government does not have authority over the land of Osun State, for instance. Not even the land in Oyo State.
Not 1 inch.
And these governors have come out to say, as the chief executive officers of this state, this is what we want, and this is how we want it. In a true federal state, in a true federalism, you accord all necessary respect or power to this chief executive. I was let
me just go to Jide now. Now, Jide, we're quite worried about Kebbi State because of the level of agriculture going on there, and Kebbi State is known for rice production. Now, if there's anything, if Kebbi is having security challenges, it's going to affect the country. Already, we've seen a kind of spike in the prices of food items across the south, even across the country.
Yes, that is one of the reasons we've been pushing for governments to take on this problem head on and defeat it, because it's not just Kebbi State that is facing this problem. We have other states that even produce much more agri-produce than Kebbi State, and they are facing so much problems at this time in terms of insecurity. Borno State has the capacity to do much better than Kebbi State. The beans from Borno State, for example, is the best in the country. And when you are talking about fishing too, it's like the headquarters, Baga is like the headquarters of fishing in our country. So what insecurity is causing many farmers to stay away from their farms. And when this happens, production becomes much more difficult and much more expensive. And when production becomes so expensive, it will have negative impact on pricing. That is why our people are going through a lot at this time. Prices of goods and services are going up. So we've got to secure the entire northwest, northeast, and even the north central. When we are able to secure all of these states, because they are key to agri production in our country, they are very key. Then you come to the north central, secure the north central as well, and then move to the food production belts of the southwest, talking about Barapa land right up to Isheyin. All of those places are known for
Okay, we lost.
Yeah, I think he was trying to tell us the importance of certain areas
in terms of agriculture. Yes.
And to keen to ensure that they are protected. Like it's not peculiar to Nigeria. Most countries will first thing in terms of problem is to make sure that their core areas of competence are not touched.
Are protected.
Once you do that, that's why the US, they always protect the Midwest. They even pay them before they even plant a seed to guarantee them that not only will they be protected,
food supply.
Their supply will be.
All right, moving on now. The free fall of Naira against the United States dollars has defied logic and arresting measures by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. But hear this, the World Bank has blamed the Central Bank of Nigeria for the foreign exchange crisis in the country. In its biannual Nigerian Development Updates, the Global Bank said the CBN's management of the exchange rates reduced supply in the markets. This affects investors' confidence and leads to preference of black markets to the official market, as the disparity between the foreign exchange window and the parallel market has widened to as high as 90 Naira. I know the last time I checked, in the black market, that's the parallel market, was over 500
you are still checking.
Naira to a dollar.
Yeah.
GKB. And when you think about it, that if somebody sent you $500 now,
That's 25,000. That's
$500?
2.5 million.
no, guys are not.
$100 is.
Let's look at the journalists are not always good with figures. 500 USD.
It's 25,000.
In Naira, Abi?
Yes, and
Okay.
I was okay. Let's say $1,000.
GKB 205,000 now.
Okay, let's say $1,000. So if I give you $1,000 now,
you send me $1,000,
that's like 500,000 naira.
Yeah, big man.
And we experienced this in 2017 or 2016, and we're able to beat it back, and then we went back to the 360 naira and to $1, and for a long time it's still at 360, 365, 370 at the black market rates.
Because I'm sure economists will have a better term for it. Because we panic anytime there is anything moving near the naira. Normally, remember there was a time for about 4 years, we were exchanging for around 200 naira.
Yes.
196, 196. Our economy has not grown beyond that. You understand? So, but this particular CBN seems to have this passion for always panicking when there's a slight movement upward. And it's because, remember there was a time you and I travel a lot. There are times you will know that the thing will move from 195 to 210. But if you wait a couple of days to come back to a median for around $200, nowadays you can't make that plan. If today is 500 and you are making plans for 2 weeks, but I make plans for 600 now. Because there's no median it's coming back to. And we all know why. Because there was a time you and I, we run into this problem when it becomes very scarce to get dollars. The first point is that those who are in the art of production could not get dollars to imports. And we thought that with increments in local content, maybe that will make a difference. Then the bandits came in and totally rubbished that particular effort that was made in that wise. Now we don't even know what next. Because you can't keep pushing foreign exchange to shop the naira in such a manner when we are not productive. It's our lack of productivity. Because we export nothing, apart from things that we do. And that to me is the key. What we need to watch out for now, that they've told us, is the fact that you must make plans for your currency in such a manner that there can be long-term planning by investors. This will kill investments in Nigeria. Because somebody who came in with $2 million, thinking that we're going to bring in additional $2 million, realize that the market has fallen out. And there's nothing they can do.
But there was a time that even West African countries like Ghana, when you compare Ghanaian cedis and the CFA, the Naira was so powerful.
It's like you are telling us.
I'm not talking about 20 years ago. I'm talking about.
It's like you are telling us of Bible times in 2021. You know, I'm conversant with the West African corridor, and I can share my personal experience. Each time you travel to any West African neighbor, and the moment they discover you are from Nigeria, you know, they swamp on you. They want to get the naira off you to give you their currency. Let's take Benin for an instance. In Cotonou, you know, if you go by road, when you get to their border town, you see them, you know, putting raw cash on the table, waiting for whoever is around to exchange. And when you come, Nigeria, no, they want to get the naira off you to give you their money. But Ayo, if you go back there now, you be like an orphan the moment they discover you are from Nigeria, because the money does not command the same respect that it used to command even in recent past. So I'm not an economist, but I think the central bank needs to follow the recommendations made by the World Bank as regards this. One of the recommendations is that the central bank should allow IEFX, that's the forex market, to function the way it should by allowing a more market-friendly approach for the exchange rate transaction. One of the things I want to add is what GKB mentioned earlier, that look, we are a miracle-loving country. We can't pray for the naira to rise against other currencies if you don't work towards it. What are we simulating the local manufacturing scene? Are we exporting anything? What value are we bringing to the table? Another recommendation of the World Bank is that the central bank should allow for higher participation of oil companies in providing forex supplies, believing that this will be achieved if the market is transparent and flexible. Transparency and flexibility are the keywords in this particular recommendation. This central bank really needs to do more. I don't know what Mr. President and the Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria is going to do about it. At the time it was that there were some people were calling on Mr. President to have a kind of a change in the leadership or in the management of the central bank. I don't know if that will be part of the solution. That's what I'm saying. The central bank is I don't know if that would bring any solution. That would bring any solution to the table. So the central bank, if they will not be too ready, should listen to the World Bank here. Forget about the part where the blame is being apportioned onto you. Take the recommendations, look at it critically, and with pure mind, and try to see if it's something that you can adopt to bring solution to this problem.
The system is so weak now that even Nigerians within the transacts with dollars.
Yeah, there are
some house rents on the island is paid in dollars.
I know one or two hotels.
Yeah.
I know one or two hotels that takes only dollars.
Yeah, they don't take naira.
They don't even recognize it. And I understand why.
Legal tender within
I
our country.
was in Ghana a couple of, I think last year or 2 years ago, and the man told me to my face that the money can change for me, naira to cedi, makes more sense than from dollar to naira. I don't know whether I get the logic. The same $100 will get me more cedi in a way that will get me now. Because a few years ago, I don't go to Ghana with dollars. I go with naira. And I know places I can go in Ashanti area where I can get it changed. But the man said he's not going to change it for me. That he would rather discount my dollar than to take the naira
from you.
So I'm just trying to buttress what you said about the West African corridor, which is our main source, because we supply most of their cosmetics, we supply most of their what do you call it, manufactured goods that they cannot bring in from France, or rather we used to supply it. But where we are now is the problem. What CBN needs to do is very clear. We've said it before, and people have said it 1,000 times. Parallel markets do not work if you are not productive enough to offset it.
Don't have two rates.
Except for a miracle.
Because the current parallel market in Nigeria is a window to make a lot of money without working for it.
Okay, we'll take this short break. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back. It's still Journalist Hangout on Sunday, 120 minutes from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. We just touch all areas on Sundays, the special edition of Journalist Hangout. I think my producer is working on getting Babajide back. Is Jide there? Hello, Babajide. Okay, Jide is not there yet. No, now talking about this dollar rate, and we can't. Is it possible to get it back the way it used to be?
To where? No, you have to be specific. You can't get it back. No, since we are going back to our basic roots, maybe we can also go back to when the naira was $1 was 70 kobo. Since we are going back to looking for gazettes to resume the grazing routes.
GKB, that's not realistic.
No, but that's the only thing I can say. Because you and I know that at which point you want to set the bar, which is the ideal. Because there was a time, like I said, that we produce 90% of every consumable item in the West African sub-region. There was a time there is no simple space in the Kebbi industrial estates that people don't work. There's a time that to get to Apapa in the morning, it's not because the trailers are blocking the road. It's because the number of jobs available are so many. There was a time in this country that people, there is a labor exchange at the marina, where people queue up to get jobs. And then they will tell them to come back in 1 week and see where they've been placed. The system itself is the problem. You cannot isolate the problem of the Naira from the problem of the country. You have to put them pari passu. Because the system has failed, the Naira will fail. Like you said, a lot of people are trying to get out of this country. They are putting pressure on the dollar. A lot of people are they are bringing in stuff that you dare not bring in the Republic of Benin. And it's just going to require dollars. People are bringing in things just to make themselves feel good. I'm telling you, this country, you cannot get new notes.
Luxury items.
In most countries, they will be banned. In most countries, you cannot get it beyond the airports. So you cannot isolate the Naira out of the problem that we face as a people. It's a reflection of our incompetence.
Now, what we have now is even some people making their money in Naira and they convert it to dollar and they keep it at home. There's a lot of people like that now. And you find a situation where people want to, EFCC boss just told us about that a certain minister actually with a bank manager, with a bank manager actually purchased an apartment, a house.
$50 million.
Exactly what
$20 million.
Exactly what GKB just said, that we cannot, divorce our system, the situation from the condition of, the Naira right now. Look at the picture you just painted now. He said something earlier that there are certain hotels, even in the same Lagos, that you go there, they will not even entertain the Naira. In our own territory, they will not even entertain the Naira. They will tell you that you have to pay in dollar. Look, Ayo, there is no miracle, there is no amount of discussion or talks that we are going to do on this table that will bring about any change. If the system is not addressed or is not taken care of the way it should. One of our mainstay, apart from oil, which of course has turned around to become one of our greatest undoing, is agriculture. But we have abandoned agriculture. When we're talking about the kidnapping in Kebbi State, we're talking about how this unrest have negative impact on agriculture. Until we return to those are area of comparative advantage, we'll continue to talk about the free fall of the Naira against the dollar. Some of us who do businesses online, who do transactions online, we know how much pain, but for an instance, I run a PayPal account and it's connected directly to my Zenith Bank account, for an instance. And by the time they make deductions from my PayPal account, and you check the equivalent or this thing in your account, your local account, you see that you have spent even much more than what you had planned to spend. All of these things are having negative toll on even individual economy, not even the nation's economy as a whole. Now, so until the system is fixed, until we look at what we are going to do, are we productive enough to, attract the kind of effects that forex that we expect to give life to forex? So the central bank also has a role to play in this, just like those people in government. Agriculture, I keep saying agriculture. I don't know why I keep saying that, but it's one of the areas that we can, look at and try. Even technology is another agriculture of the present day.
You can harvest.
Yes, let us look at technology. We are talking about Twitter ban today, Twitter ban tomorrow. A lot of people are making good revenue from that platform. Now that it has banned, I know how much Nigeria has lost within these few weeks that Twitter is not operative in the country. So likewise for other platforms too, we need to start looking at that. We are in an age where technology drives the economy. Apart from agriculture, we need to also look at our investment in the area of technology. How much have we done in that regard? Look, we are a miracle-loving people. There is no doubt about that. But I can assure you, there is no amount of miracle that will happen to bring the Naira back.
That's my promo. It's not by